At our small church plant, we use the Midas M32R digital mixer. I think it's a great combination of affordability, portability, and it has all the features that you would hope for in a digital mixer. In this video, I want to walk you through how we've configured this digital console for our worship ministry. So keep watching because you are going to learn how the user interface of this mixer works, as well as some helpful tips for configuring a digital mixer for worship. This video is brought to you by Lead Worship with Ableton, a free training to help you get started with the #1 worship leading software. With Ableton Live, you can run a click, backing tracks, and automate lyrics and lighting. It's the best tool for increasing excellence and eliminating distracting mistakes in worship. Click the link in the description to enroll in the free training today. My name is Jake Gosselin with Churchfront.com, an online resource for innovative and creative church leaders. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church. Make sure you also check out the show notes below this video for some free resources and other helpful tools for your worship ministry. My question of the day is, what digital mixer or analog mixer do you use at your church? Let me know below in the comments. So now I'm just gonna hop behind my camera and I'm gonna walk you through how we've configured the Midas M32R for worship. So the easiest way for me to walk you through this board is for me to just get behind my camera and just hand hold my camera and walk you through the different sections of the board, kind of get you an idea of how we use this in a worship context. First, I want to give you a general overview of how this board is set up. Starting over here on the far right, we have just our master fader for our main PA speakers, the front of house speakers. These faders over here are our DCA groups, and they also play a couple other roles. If I scroll through these different layers of faders right here, it's also going to bring up our bus outputs, so for monitors. So this is what we use for our in-ear monitor. So we have my ears right here, and then we have the other worship leaders monitor mix, and then our drummer and our keyboard right here. And we could have, let's see, we have 8 channels here. On the next layer, we could have another 4, and then we're using 4 of these buses for our effects here. So lots of flexibility for outputs for monitor mixes on this board. So I'm gonna go back though to the top layer. You can see how it says DCA groups right here. And DCA groups are just really convenient ways of grouping together your channels into a fader. So we have all of our vocals on one, and then drums, guitars, all of our Ableton tracks. And then we also have our ProPresenter computer on a DCA group, just so it's conveniently placed here. And then our speaker mics, and then also our levels for effects. So we have reverb, and then we have delay as well. So that's what this section of the board is, DCA groups, and then our mix bus outputs for monitors. So then over here we have our section for the channels on the board. This board has, let's see, we got 4 banks of channels. So we have inputs 1 through 8 right there. That's what we're using for vocals, and then we have drums on 9 through 16, and then instruments on 17 through 24, and then any other extra things like our computers on 25 to 32. And then we also have the aux ins, you know, if we want to plug our computer in to the 1/4-inch jacks on the back. And then we have our effects returns that'll also show up on that bank. And then you can also view all the buses there as well. So these buttons here walk through the layers on this section of the board, and then these ones walk through the layers of this section of the board. So I'm going to go back to the layers so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to go to channels 1 through 8. We have all the vocals here. So, you know, singer vocal mics. Usually it's just 3 of us. And then we have our host mic and our pastor's mic. And then if I go to the next layer here, we have our drum mics all in one layer, so they're easy to get to. And then the next layer are instruments. So we have 4 channels for Ableton Live. We've got click, we have, and then 3 other channels for different tracks. Right now,
you know, we have the option. I like to put the bass, guitar tracks, or any other really bass-heavy tracks in its own channel, so we can mix that separately. It really helps clean up the mix. And then we have 2 other channels that we can mix in, you know, the other synth sounds, other keys, electric guitar sounds, kind of the way we want, so we can just balance it how we want. And then over here we have my acoustic guitar, and then we have a stereo left and right in for our keyboard that runs main stage. And then finally we have this last bank of faders that has our ProPresenter computer on it. Again, left and right, that's stereo. And then here we can see our effects returns. We've got some verbs, delay, and then we also have a compression running on the whole kit that kind of, we call it kit smack, and it kind of gives it a nice tight punch to the whole drum kit. Sounds really great. My friend Spencer came up with that idea. Yeah, it sounds awesome. And then we can also view all of our, you know, master buses here as well. So 1 through 8 and then 9 through 16. So the nice thing about these DCA groups is that it'll pretty much, you know, group like this first DCA will group all these vocal mics into one, so we can adjust those levels. And then also same thing for drums. You know, if we don't want to have to go in and if we have all the drums mixed well to itself, you know, in relation to one another, then we just want to mix the overall mix. We can do that here. Same thing for guitars, same thing for tracks. So that's why those DCA groups come in handy. I think most of the time when we're running it, our sound guy will bounce between the vocals and the instrument channel banks right here, but it's really pretty straightforward. One thing I also like about the DCA groups is that we actually don't really mute any of our like vocal channels over here. If we ever need to mute vocal mics, we'll just do it at the DCA group. And this is handy because before the service, you know, we're up on stage getting ready and we have our in-ears in, and as musicians it's still nice to actually be able to hear ourselves before the service starts. So what happens is, you know, when the countdown gets to about 5 seconds left, then our sound guy will unmute the DCA groups, and then those channels will come through the mains. If he had muted it here, then we just can't hear ourselves. We couldn't communicate on stage right before the service if we need to. We couldn't hear our guitars or anything like that come into our in-ears. So it's another little trick that we learned just so we can hear ourselves on stage. And then up here I want to show you how this board works when it comes to applying processing to your channels. I think this is a really intuitive layout. So what's going to happen is when you want to adjust something on a channel, let's say we just want to look at my vocal mic here, you're just going to press a select button, and now all these parameters apply to the channel that I have selected down here. So right now it's applied to my vocal mic. So the first thing you have is the gain setting. So I can adjust gain right here, and then I can also adjust a low cut. So if I put on the view for my EQ, you know, you can see I can adjust that low cut just like that, really easy. Then we have a noise gate, and whenever you press view next to one of these parameters, it comes up in the screen on the board so you can see what you're doing. Same thing with dynamics and compression. And then you have EQ. Again, those details can come up right there. And those are kind of your basic, you know, signal processing effects that you have here. And of course you have more effects, and the way that this works on this board is that, say I have my channel selected, and this is just one way to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the sends on fader button that's right over here, and then I'm going to go to my let's see, I'll go to bus 9 through 16 because that's where we adjust our effects for reverb and delay. And right now we're looking at how much effects I have for my channel because that's what's selected here. So that's where they're at there. And then if I went to another channel, it would adjust a little bit because not all the effects are the same on all these channels. So I think it's just a really intuitive way to be able to adjust parameters, to add effects to different channels. That's kind of how the X32, M32 ecosystem works. And then we use this a lot. It's a USB drive input that we can plug in a thumb drive and then simply press record, and it records the master mix to the thumb drive, and that's how we record our sermon, and we edit it real quick in GarageBand and then upload it to SoundCloud for our sermon podcast. And here are a bunch of different buttons that we can custom assign. So I think we have this one assigned to like the tap tempo. I think we also have some mute groups assigned as well. So lots of customizable stuff on this board. The one thing I love about these digital consoles is the ability for them to take in analog signals. You don't have to just rely on the digital snake, but we also do use a digital snake. So you can use both if you want. Since our sound console is not on stage, we run a digital snake out of this EtherCON port right here. So all of our channels from the stage go through one cable and plug into this, and that's how we get the channels back to the board. And if we wanted to do multi-track recording, we simply plug in our laptop with this USB port right here. We use Pro Tools or Logic, and we can record a multi-track recording with this digital mixer because it functions practically like a 32-channel audio interface. And that's it. This is just a brief overview of how we use a sound console, the Midas M32R. There's probably lots of other more detailed videos you can look at somewhere else on the internet as far as how all these specific features work. But for a worship ministry setting at a church plant, we love this board. It is awesome. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of the Midas M32R and that you have some practical takeaways for the tech ministry at your church. Make sure to let me know if you have any questions below in the comments. If you haven't already, check out my free training, Lead Worship with Ableton, linked below. It's going to help you get started with the #1 worship leading software. If you found this video helpful, hit the thumbs up button, share it with your friends in ministry. You can check out some related videos over here, and don't forget to subscribe to the Churchfront channel so you can continue to receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church.